Hey there, vinyl community. So, struggled a little bit to come up with a cohesive thread through all the music that I've been listening to, but we'll see. I'll do my best here. Um, Really, kind of the idea came about a week ago. Michael 45 had a live stream on where they were showing film soundtracks. Really amazing. Uh, he's doing these Wednesday afternoon live streams that are just, mind blowing. And they were showing a lot of different films from a lot of different genres. One area that they covered though was Blaxploitation films, which I have a fondness for, and not just the soundtracks themselves, which are many of them very very good, but the films themselves are really a snapshot in time of it tells you a little bit about where we were at, in the early 1970s and throughout the 1970s, as far as like, economics and race relations and all those aspects of American society. Oh, in case you're wondering what we're listening to, haven't listened to this in ages. Great album and funky. I know some people don't like this. It's a little, whatever. But I dug it when it came out, and re-listening to them, it sounds, I like it. It's got a nice groove to it. And there's a companion record with it. I was listening to this earlier. Yeah, cool vibes, cool street vibes they create. I like it. And it kind of went along with the theme of the day. Oh, and I got a new record, and took a little hunting, but I finally found myself a nice copy of this record. This is like a Gil Scott collection, and what it does that's nice is, his first couple of records, his solo records, are really tough to find, and the prices are going up, up, up. So there's a couple of songs that I repeat from albums that I have, but there's some other stuff on here that it would be really hard to track down any other way. So when I had a chance to grab it, it's probably it's quality. It sounds great, and the cover has a little bit of whatever. Doesn't bother me. Great little record collection, and gives you an overview. One thing it maybe lacks is kind of a cohesiveness about it, because you mix in kind of funk and R&B and poetry reading and the blues, and so it mixes a lot of those in. I really like it. I think it's a great listen, and I couldn't be more happy about adding it to my collection. So I had to sell a couple of things to get it, but I was happy to do so. So back to our soundtracks, Blaxploitation soundtracks. First one I thought I would show, probably the first two that I think everyone's pretty familiar with. These became, really mainstream hits. Shaft. And this is a good example though of why these films were so important. They gave black actors a chance to play the lead in movies, and be the good guy. To be the anti-hero. They didn't have to play the junkie or the criminal. They could be the hero in the film, and it was really a great opportunity that they were not getting in quote unquote mainstream American films, unfortunately. And to go along with them, they had these amazing soundtracks. You got a guy like Isaac Hayes, who just really knocked it out of the park with Shaft, and I think everybody knows the theme to Shaft, and the whole soundtrack plays really really well. But the opening number is the one you want. Isaac Hayes did a number of soundtracks for films, Blaxploitation films, and we can talk. Well, I'll do kind of a part two at some point. We'll talk about some of the more obscure Blaxploitation films. Speaking of, I was listening to this Hot Butter Soul. This is Isaac Hayes, just without being a score, or a film soundtrack on his own. Great album, Hot Butter Soul. Um, these are records that really, when it comes down to 70s, a mixture of funk and R&B and even jazz in a lot of these records. Great listens, and really captured uh, the vibe, I think, of life in American cities um, at that time in the 1970s. Great record. Definitely worth adding to your collection. So the other one, that soundtrack that I think everybody knows, is probably Superfly. Um, I think everyone's kind of, you look for these. It's got the flip on it. I guess those are getting harder to find now because people would rip them off because it kind of became a little bit of a burden to be pulling in and out of the record. A lot of times when I see Superfly, it's pretty beat up. Although, the nice part about living in the city of Detroit is I do see these fairly often, and so you can grab a pretty good one. They did a reissue of this a couple years ago with some bonus tracks and stuff. I had it, and it sounded fine. That'll do you fine. I think I got rid of it. My rule is I usually will only keep, very, very seldom will I keep 2 copies of an album, just not the way I collect records. This is great. I actually prefer this over Shaft. I think it's a more complex movie because this is definitely an anti-hero as far as the lead character goes, and mixing up the roles of good guys and bad guys when it's not quite so clear as to who is who, and the role that they play on the street. And an interesting film, well worth watching, and a magnificent soundtrack full of the very best of 70s R&B and funk, soul. Going along with that, Curtis Mayfield is an amazing musician and did 3 or 4 near perfect records. This is his first album, and this I don't even see it very often. A really good record, I think overlooked in some ways, but I just don't see it, in the marketplace that often. But this is every bit as good as the more celebrated second album, this one. And these are really, in my eyes, these are kind of companion pieces. This one might even be a little bit better, but maybe it's because I'm more familiar with this one. I don't know. Great records, tough to find them in decent condition. So when you do, grab them. But they're, 70s soul, R&B, and funk just don't get any better than that. And Curtis Mayfield, in not just the first 2 records, there's 3rd and 4th record, maybe up until the 5th record, are just, downright classics. Not that he didn't do good stuff after that, but that was the kind of prime era for Curtis Mayfield in my view. So then after that, so those are the films that everybody knows, Shaft and Superfly, but probably my favorite Blaxploitation film is Coffee. And I dig this because it has a female lead, and she's the lead character in the film and really carries the film on her back. And the film is it's violent and got a lot of sexuality in it, and a lot of it's one of the things that I like about Blaxploitation films is the realism of them. And I think it's one of the things that is completely lacking from films that we see today. Iron Man and these ridiculous films that they're pumping out of Hollywood that are just worthless. A film like Coffee is 100 times better than any of those. with real characters that look like real people, and not like you know, some idealized version of things. Yeah, Coffee, Roy Ayers did an amazing soundtrack to it. Everyone I think will recognize the lead single from it, which is "Coffee Is the Color." Great track, but yeah, the whole record is full of great songs. This is a soundtrack worth tracking down. I think the prices have gone up in more recent years, unfortunately, but there's probably, you know, I don't know if there's been a reissue or not, but if there has been, it's worth grabbing, and also worth seeing this film. Just don't watch it with the kids. You know, I mean, don't you know, be ready for, it's an adult film, and it's got humor in it, and don't be afraid to laugh and have a good time while you're doing it. But it's not a film for children. It's a film for adults. And classic Coffee. And then the last one that I wanted to show was another really, I don't think this is as good as Coffee, but this is Foxy Brown. You'll notice that both of these starred Pam Grier. And Pam made lots and lots of films in the 1970s, and her career kind of was brought back. Tarantino brought her back on Jackie Brown. And Jackie Brown's a fun watch too. But it's all the ideas from it were taken from the, you know, soundtracks and films that I'm kind of showing you right now. And yeah, Foxy Brown was a cool film that the charisma of Pam Grier really carried some of these films. She was just so believable and sympathetic, and you know, whether she was playing the good guy or the bad guy, you know, you wanted Pam to win, whether she was Foxy Brown or whether she was Coffee. And Willie Hutch did an amazing job with this soundtrack. This is pretty hard to track down, or at least I don't see it very often. But funky, soulful, lots of cool street vibes about it. And yeah. So those were the, oh, you know, there's one more that I kind of think fits into the Blaxploitation area, is even though this film was made in Jamaica, this is The Harder They Come. And there's another film called Rocker that's worth seeing too. This kind of takes the rawness of Blaxploitation films, mixing it with that kind of independent spirit, so that there's plenty of action and violence in these films, but also taking on some really interesting social issues that you just didn't see addressed in mainstream films at the time. So, Harder They Come, and the soundtrack is it's all reggae, but these songs have become absolute. You know, The Harder They Come, Jimmy Cliff, but even Pressure Drop. I think everybody knows. There's a Shantytown, Desmond Decker, Johnny Too Bad. There's a great track on here, Rivers of Babylon. If you're just kind of, I usually don't like soundtracks like this that just do individual songs, but this is an exception. I think it's a great film. Great film, and really cool soundtrack. And I think it goes well into the whole Blaxploitation area. Killer soundtrack coupled with a film that's very, very underrated. Very watchable. Anyway, those were my choices today, and some of those I think I might have even shown before, but not maybe in the context of after seeing Michael 45's live stream. Check that live stream out if you haven't, and thank you for watching, and have a great week.